This workshop is going to be focusing on feedback. So today we're going to be talking about how to give constructive feedback, how to receive that feedback even when it's not positive, and how to implement that feedback into another draft. So, how to give constructive feedback. So, first off, you're going to want, so these are for the beta readers and the alpha readers and the people that are reading other authors' manuscripts. You're going to want to do your prep work before you go ahead and start reading their work. You're going to want to sandwich the feedback, and there are several things to keep in mind when you're giving feedback. So, first off, why do we want to do our prep work? Before you even start reading the manuscript, you need to know what you're looking for. You need to know the book you're reading and what platforms the author needs their feedback to be on. You're going to want to ask several questions. The genre, like what genre is the book? What is the word count? What is the duration of time it needs for it to be done? It's important for you to know the genre, because if you have a genre that bores you or that you don't like, then you're not going to be able to give adequate feedback on somebody else's draft. For example, there are certain genres that I wouldn't really read in my personal time, so I'm not gonna beta read, not because there's anything wrong with that genre, but because I'm not fit to provide adequate feedback to help improve their writing. If it doesn't make sense to be like, I'm bored with this genre, or I don't like this genre makes me uncomfortable, and then to read somebody's book and then to ping it as this makes me uncomfortable, or this feels slow, or this feels boring, when that might
More,
just preference.
more up and interrupt you. Your
To read.
presentation is not up.
My presentation's not up.
Nope.
Let me see. There we go. We see it.
Spinning. All right, there it is.
Nice. Okay. So you're gonna want to know what kind of genre, what's the word count, what's the duration of time needs to be done. You're gonna want to know the word count, because approaching an 85,000 word book is different than approaching a 300,000 word book. It's gonna take more time to tackle the longer pieces. You're gonna have to mentally prepare yourself for those longer pieces. So just knowing the length of the book when it needs to get done in the genre is important. What kind of feedback are you looking for? This is super important because they are asking you for help. Sometimes they know what kind of problems they have with their manuscript. They just kind of want you to point it out for them. Where is the problem? It also kind of ties into number 3. What draft number is this? Draft 1 feedback is not going to be the same as draft 4 feedback. Very often, draft 1 is going to have a lot of proofreading errors. It's going to have a lot of copy editing errors, a lot of line editing problems. Usually, now granted, like every author is different. I love feedback in all of its forms. I will accept any feedback, but very often, it's a very good idea to clarify what you're looking for, because sometimes the author is mostly looking for and character and plot errors to fix before they go ahead and worry about the editing. You're going to want to know where and how you'd like to receive that feedback. Is it going to be on Google Docs? Is it going to be on Word? Are you guys messaging each other and doing a debriefing every week? Or are you guys going to comment within the actual document itself? Are there any trigger warnings that you need to be made aware of that's important for you to clarify with the person that you're going to read their book with, for your safety and for them to know when how to properly write it? So how to give feedback. I am a huge fan in sandwiching the information that you're trying to give the feedback for. There are many ways to give feedback. It really depends on your relationship with the author and your overall style. But this is just one of the many ways that people can give feedback. It's my favorite. My favorite is to sandwich the feedback. So this is how it works. You provide positive feedback, and then you provide the negative feedback, and then you provided more positive feedback or actionable ways to fix the said problem. For example, I love the inner conflict Timmy had from choosing between Sally and his shot at winning the tournament. I do think the dialogue could be tweaked to improve the flow, as it was hard to follow at times. However, the pacing quickly picked up again when they got back into the car, and I liked the tension you built between them on the way to the doctor's appointment. So you have the positive feedback. I love the inner conflict Timmy had. the negative feedback, the dialogue's hard to follow, and then more positive feedback, the pacing quickly picked up again. So that's just one of the many ways you can give feedback. So there are several things to keep in mind when you're giving that feedback. There's always something good and something bad about a manuscript. It doesn't matter how terrible you think it is. It doesn't matter how good you think it is. There's always something that you can bring up to either lift up the author or help them improve. The goal is to keep that balanced as much as possible. You're going to want to tell the truth. And I understand like a lot of people get stressed and worried about giving negative feedback because they're worried they're going to hurt the author's feelings. But if you go too soft, then you aren't really helping the author. People who really want to improve, who want to improve both their novels and their skills as a writer, they will want your help and won't verbally attack you, even if what you have to say isn't exactly the most positive thing to give them. A lot of the times when people do get very upset and very like overreactive on those on feedback is when they haven't taken the time to take a step back to really think about the feedback. Or B, they didn't really go in with the intention of actually fixing their manuscript. So it has nothing to do with you. If they do get kind of upset with you, and everything to do with the fact that they're a little bit hurt because they have to go in and they have to fix certain things that aren't working. Or they haven't given themselves the time to really give themselves the introspection to figure out whether or not what you have to say will actually help or help their manuscript or not. Being rude on the same coin, like being rude is not the same as giving constructive feedback. Just because you have something harsh to say, it doesn't mean it is constructive. You got to kind of sort of look at what you're saying and try to figure out, is this something that will actually help the author, or is this just like a personal opinion that I'm giving? Ultimately, it is up to the author to decide what to do with your changes. Even if you have like the best piece of advice and everything you say is correct, at the end of the day, it is still up to the author to decide whether or not they're going to accept that information. So how to receive that feedback even when it's not positive. This is for the authors who are giving their manuscripts out for the first time or maybe the fifth time. I've been in both positions. I've been both the person who gives the feedback and the person who receives the feedback. Um, why so I understand that kind of sort of hurt that comes from like being stung when you receive some of that feedback. And so why do we feel that sting? It's because you put a lot of time and you sweat and tears into this project. It's been yours for a while and you're finally sharing it, and that makes you vulnerable. The story is your baby. Nobody likes seeing the baby get critiqued, but if you aren't careful, you might end up accidentally pairing that critique with being teased, which is likely not what the reader is trying to do. So it is important to kind of sort of be able to take a step back to understand how to approach it rather than being reactive to it. So what not to do. You don't want to completely rip apart your project the moment you receive the feedback. A lot of authors, the moment they receive the comment, they go in and they try to fix it. I highly do not recommend doing this for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into in the next slide. You do not want to verbally attack or argue with the reader. They're taking the time out of their day to read your manuscript. They're trying to help you. They want your story to be the best that it can be. And even if you do not agree with their feedback, it is still feedback and it's still something that they're given to you. Especially on this channel, like a lot of the cases it's for free. There are cases where you do pay them, but at the same time you're still approaching it with a professional service, and you want to be respectful towards them. You don't want to completely disregard their critique the moment that you receive it. Or are you going to take everything that they give you? Probably not. Sometimes you have to kind of sort of compare your notes to figure out if what they say is actually a problem. But at the same time, you don't want to automatically just toss the critique away and not like attend to it ever, because it's possible that they could be right. So what you do want to do is you want to get more than one review. You don't want to just rely solely on one beta reader, because everybody is different. Everybody has their own biases. Even if you try not to show your biases, those biases do pop up even when you're reading and critiquing. And that's not a bad thing. That's just something that's just a given, is people are different. People have different tastes. People have different preferences. You're going to want those multiple reviews so you can, like in number 4, like cross-reference later to be able to understand whether or not it's something you actually have to fix. Something else that I really recommend is giving yourself some breathing room, and this ties into number 3. I honestly should have combined these two. So you're going to want to give yourself some breathing room and put some distance between you and your project and do something to self-regulate to help kind of sort of calm down those nerves. And this is especially for those people that are very anxious, people that get hit harder when they receive critique. For people who do not get anxious, or people that are able to like um manage their anxiety in a way where this doesn't affect them, this advice isn't necessarily entirely applicable. This is mostly for people that get very anxious when they receive that feedback and they're not sure what to do with that energy. But like, you're gonna want to take the time to like do something you enjoy doing. I have writing as my relaxation hobby, and that is not always a good thing, because when the writing stresses me out, I need to go towards a different hobby. So if writing is your relaxation hobby, you're going to want to find a second relaxation hobby that doesn't require a lot of critiquing, like a video game, or um, drawing, or something that kind of sort of can help settle your nerves um, while you take that breathing room. And why is that space so important? And when you don't have room for that space and time away from your writing, you can get jaded from the critique and confuse it from, and you have a hard time figuring out whether or not it's personal opinion or whether or not it is critique that is known across the board. You can struggle to come up with solutions without a break. A beta reader might have identified the problem, but that doesn't mean their solution fits your story. You can get a bird's eye view of what your story really is like, and it gives you time to assess whether you truly agree and disagree with the reader, or whether you solidified an opinion in the moment. Things to keep in mind. Again, everyone is different. Those who can edit the moment they get their critique don't usually need that space. So like I said, this advice is not always applicable to everybody. There is definitely a lot of room for moving things around. It really depends on the person and the author. But if you're the kind of person that can jump into edits the moment you receive the critique, that's awesome. Um, this is just a recommendation for people who have a hard time with that. Like before, it is ultimately your choice to do what you will with your projects. Just because you receive feedback, it doesn't mean you need to take that feedback. It doesn't mean you should disregard the feedback. You definitely do need to do some work to fix the manuscript if you notice there's a problem. But at the end of the day, it is your choice to do what you want with that manuscript. It is your book. And it might feel bad in the moment, but feeling bad doesn't mean that the reader is wrong. Um, it stings and it hurts when you receive that feedback, but at the same time, that feeling um, doesn't necessarily mean that the reader is incorrect with their assumption, or even how they approached it. All feedback is good to document, even if you think it's wrong, even if you disagree with it. You at least have at your disposal to look back on if multiple people bring it up and you find out, oh, this actually is a problem. And like I mentioned before, your book will have positive and negatives. This is the hardest part, I think, for most authors. There is no such thing as perfect. At some point, you have to stop editing and giving it to readers, and you have to just publish it. And that doesn't mean like do it in draft 1 and then publish it, but like if you are stuck on like draft 10 and you are just frantically trying to fix tiny little inconsistencies that aren't actually problems, then that's a sign that your manuscript is ready and that it doesn't really need more beta readers or editors. You just need to get it out there, or at least move forward in the writing process. So how to implement that critique. So these are the steps. Again, everybody's steps can be different. This is my step. I take a breather. I take a breather usually after I finish a draft and after I receive critique from a draft. And this is to prevent tearing my draft apart to fix something that might not need to be fixed. You're going to want to write down everything that your reader wrote down and highlighted to you. And then once you're done with all the critiques all across the board and you're done having it being read, you're going to want to highlight points that pop up more than once with multiple readers. You're going to want to tackle those highlighted portions first and then work your way down. From what I understand, excuse me, from what I understand, character and plot holes tend to be the bulkiest fixes, while line editing, copy editing usually goes last. That doesn't mean that you can't get line editing and copy editing during like the beginning stages of beta reads. It's just that's usually something that you can fix after you understand your plot and your characters. So that's my presentation. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there. And does anybody have any questions?
All right, I will go through here and try to find any questions. My notifications on the chat is currently stuck at 2 with Serena's last 2 messages, so hopefully mine's actually keeping up. But that was very good. It helped me to know that much. K-Post gave you a standing ovation. Serena said she definitely struggles with criticism. I'm sure a lot of us do. Serena said, I think a lot of people forget that when they are giving feedback that they aren't changing the style of the writing. Just because something is written differently than the way you write doesn't make it wrong or bad. Everybody's saying thank you. Phoenix said you did great. Becca, Dan, CJ, Eric all say thank you. Bill says Moria was. Ath says thanks, Morio. Kepos has a question for the feedback giver. Though this might have been touched on before he arrives, so we'll get that. Mav says amazing work, Morio. I can truly listen to you speak for hours. CJ says I always keep in mind that the feedback is the critique of your writing in person or where you are in your writing.
What was the question? I apologize.
I said CJ had a comment. It was I always keep in mind that the feedback is the critique of your writing and not who you are, the person or where you are in your writing.
Okay.
And K-Post's question has not come through yet. Phoenix says she struggled accepting feedback when she started, but she settled into acceptance for the most part.
So hard not to take it personally.
Dan said he has the opposite problem to Phoenix. He has a hard time ignoring any feedback, even when sometimes feedback from different people will directly conflict.
I hate that too.
That's my problem is that I'm constantly like I want to apply all the feedback, but it comes to a point where sometimes the feedback that the person is presenting is more of a personal like preference. And actually going in and figuring out like I've had to like bring several questions up to other writers and they're like, nah, that's not a problem. And I'm like, oh, okay. So sometimes it really is just personal preference, which is why it's like a good idea not to like take all the feedback in because that's overwhelming.
Kipos said, when providing feedback, if you have little information on what kind of feedback the writer requests, what should be your default angle? Like, should you keep it safe and just touch on some issues you find, or do you still fully write everything you've noticed and just hope it's fine? And that is for people giving feedback.
I think your default should be to give as much feedback as possible. If they didn't specify what they're looking for, I would just try to give all the feedback that you can and like maybe clarify it with them later if you have the ability to. What kind of feedback they're looking for. But yeah, I my default would be just give as much feedback as possible because at the very worst, they will bring up, hey, I'm actually looking for this type of feedback right now, and at the very best, then you're helping their manuscript as much as possible.
Eric made a good point. He says, I find feedback definitely needs to have both positive and negatives. Too much of one or the other clouds the feedback. I could see that. Someone says all these nice things about you're writing and then they give you a couple of critiques and you're like, yeah, you said it was good. Why should I change it? So I feel like that's a good point.
Done to the opposite. If they say too much bad stuff, but then also say like, but overall I liked it. It's like, well, clearly you didn't.
You missed that part. Yeah. Serena says, I hate when I get feedback that directly contradicts other feedback. So,
At that point, you just gotta kind of sort of go with your gut. If you get like a conflicting 50-50, or there might be something else wrong that you're unaware of that has nothing to do with that specific comment. But usually I in those cases I include myself as a vote for what to do with the manuscript.
Phoenix, in response to Kepos, said she's also wondered this as well. How much is too much? At what point does it become insulting?
I don't think it ever becomes insulting. Like, I don't think like too much as ever insulting. I think it's a matter of like also balancing it out with like that positive feedback. Like, I think getting as much of that feedback back as possible is a good thing. So I don't really believe that too much is a thing. Um, I think it's more about like balancing it out with what did you like and what didn't you like.
Beckett says, don't rewrite your work for only one feedback, which definitely makes sense. Write more asks, what's the best way to collect your feedback or to log it for actioning or review?
I have a Google Doc that the way I do my beta reads and receive my beta reads is I have them comment on my stuff in Google Docs, and then every now and then I'll get like an assessment, and so I will go comb through that assessment and I'll identify all the negatives and positives, and then I'll bring it over to a separate document, and I call it my beta read fixes, and I do kind of like bullet points based on whether it's a character, world building, or a plot um concern, and then I kind of sort of just list them and I highlight the ones that have been multiplied multiple times or that have been mentioned multiple times. So I could probably share it on here if I can find it. Hold on. I could probably share mine. It's got
Can I ask a question? What do you feel about the idea of sending your readers like a questionnaire for feedback, or do you think it's better just to let them read the document and free comment on it?
I think that both is really good, but I do love questionnaires because as a reader, it gives me something to kind of sort of pay attention to while I'm reading. And it kind of highlights what your main concerns are while I'm reading it. And as a author, I'm able to just get all the information that I need. Like I'm worried that this thing does not go through, so I'll ask this question and multiple readers will give me that and I can just log that. So I love questionnaires personally. I think those are great. I think comments are also a really good idea paired with those questionnaires because maybe they've noticed something that you were unaware of. But I do think questionnaires are great.
Phoenix says that she finished a chapter last night thanks to your sprint event. And now you've given a super helpful web workshop, and that you are a rock star.
Also, thank you. I'm trying to find it. I really need to like make a cleaner looking out like log thing. But let me pull up what I got. I think that's in the beta reads file. Let me see. Let me share the screen real quick. And this is my method. It might be a little bit chaotic just because like I understand it. It's one of those situations where sometimes you like have like you have like a little like a thing in a weird spot, but since you know where it is, you're able to like work with it. So I don't know how it will translate over here, but like, can everybody see this? Is this sharing?
1 second. It's spinning. There it is.
Yeah. So like the stuff in red is stuff that's been like this is for my book that I'm working on. The stuff in red is stuff that across the board is everybody is telling me this is a problem, and so it's the stuff that I'm really focusing on, like it's the main thing that I'm focusing on. Stuff in yellow is mentioned multiple times by multiple different people, but not everybody. And the stuff in green is usually stuff that's only been mentioned once. I don't disregard stuff in green at all. I just make sure that I have it there when I can get back to it, and I count myself as a vote for whether or not it is a problem. And if I think it's a problem and I agree with them, then I will try to go ahead and fix it even if it's in the green. But like I start off, I have my main character, I have my supporting characters, which I should really like broaden that to my other characters because not all the characters in my book are supportive characters. There's like some other characters are way more important than like side characters. I have the theme, direction, markability, there's plot, world building, pacing, and then I have my secondary issues I think are easier to fix, and I just do that all over again here. And then the issues within the chapters is a lot longer, but I mostly have these. I might just remove that because that's stuff that I go through with the document itself. And then I have the questions down here that I have for other writers when I receive that feedback so I can ask them later. So that's how I do it. Again, like it's a little bit messy of an outline. You can kind of sort of tweak it however you want, but I can try to like share a document in the library if you guys would like to have like an actual beta, like a way to log that.
That would probably be very much appreciated. Coco asks, what are good questions to ask for beta readers? I find I don't know what to really ask.
Well, it really depends on what do you notice about your manuscript that you're kind of concerned about. Those are great questions to ask. So if you have a primary concern with your draft or you notice that there's a problem with your draft, I like to read my book before I give it to other people. That way I can kind of sort of make notes myself and kind of beta read myself. And so I kind of have like a vague idea of certain things that could be improved before like I even hand it over to somebody. And those are the questions that I really ask when I do have those questions available. Otherwise, how did you feel about the characters? Were there any parts in the story that were kind of slow? How was engagement? Did you enjoy the story itself? Were there things that you liked or didn't like about the story? Was it how was the readability? Just like pretty like some of those like textbook questions are great to start off with if you're not sure where to start.
Write more is writing. Let's see what she says.
Write more is writing more.
Write more is writing more. Yes. Write more says, I did a review recently. I think the writer had some good questions. It made giving feedback easier. CJ is typing. CJ said, I liked your comment in the beginning about the genre you enjoy reading versus critiquing. I actually find that to be a problem with me as well. I find it hard to review if it's not a genre that I will read because I find myself not reading it.
You also know most about genres you like. You know, it's hard to. I would find it hard to critique a genre that I don't like or read, because it doesn't seem fair. You know, it's hard for me to tell someone how to write a horror. I don't know anything about horror. You know,
It'd be like somebody not liking romance books and then critiquing on how much they don't like the romance in the book. That it just doesn't make sense and just doesn't work.
yeah, I write YA stories, so I'm not going to go write their gritty suspense, like, I don't know.
Drama.
Well, I can tell you how to write drama. YA is pretty drama.
Mysteries.
Yeah.
I find that to be very much true for journalism, specifically video games. The very first sentence of a review will be, "I don't normally play this type of game," or "I don't usually watch this type of movie," and then they go to completely smash the entire thing. It's like, well, your opinion kind of lost value when you said you don't usually watch this.
That
I love reading
I
those
don't
reviews. Love
think,
reading those
but
reviews and
I
Steam.
really liked this.
Yeah.
That's the only time that's going to work. If it's, I don't usually like this, and I still hated it. Well, okay.
Wrightmore gave the list of gave a main list of questions she likes answers to. Where did you first feel hooked, if anywhere? Did Arthur and Jack feel distinct from each other's characters? Did you care about Arthur and Jack's relationship? Just a nice little short list of all-encompassing questions.
It's a good one, asking if your characters felt unique from each other, because it can be very easy to lose the personalities of your characters, I think, at least for me.
Dan says, yeah. Dan agreed, says he doesn't read the mystery code because he doesn't read mystery. I myself need to do a lot more reviewing. But I'm also in that headspace of I don't really know how to give reviews. So this workshop, like I said earlier, was going to definitely help me.
Fantastic job, Mario. You did awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Looks like that's probably going to be all. Well, yep. Rightmore says awesome job. CJ said thank you. I believe I got all of the questions in.
I had to hide my phone because we were echoing too. I am not typing, in case anyone's wondering. My phone is hidden under the blankets and a pillow so that it would stop echoing while Oliver had his phone unmuted.
HK says thanks. I think this might have been our biggest turnout for a workshop.
There's like 20 people there, right?
Yeah, it says 18 audience right now, but
Plus you two.
yeah, Rightmore and Morio both did a great job. I thought both of their workshops were helpful.
Do we have all the names for the people who showed up?
Okay, make sure you get a screenshot of that.
Yep, I will get that. There was one that looks like they left. I'm sure Mav got a couple too. Okay, Mav got it.
Maddie's a cat lover. Maddie loves cats, everybody. I can say it. Maddie loves cats.
I'm just going to take away my speaker privileges here in about 2 seconds.
Maddie loves cats. Maddie loves cats. Mav loves cats. Oh, no, he hasn't taken it away. I'm going to keep saying it. Mav loves cats.
I want everybody to know that Mab loves cats.
Rightmore says, we all know.
Mav's cat, his name is Noah. Mav loves cats, specifically Noah. Oliver just told me to.
I'm trying to read Coco's question. Coco
Oh,
asked if
sorry.
there's anything we missed. Coco, these workshops do get put up on YouTube. So I don't know if you made it for the first one or any part of this one that you missed. But Mav will have those up on the Guild YouTube channel at one point. He'll put them in the, what channel is that called?
I think it's called the Library of Alexandria or something like that, I think is where they go.
I believe so, yeah.
Mav loves Noah. I'm gonna get banned. Love you, Mav. Mav loves Noah.
Apparently, every time somebody sends a message on any Discord, my phone goes ding.
This I was doing the other day in my mentor chat, and I couldn't figure out where the beeping was coming from. I wasn't getting messages anywhere.
And every time it does it, it puts a dot on the microphone icon.
Yeah, I was the only one that could hear it. I wasn't getting messages anywhere, and then as soon as I left, it stopped. But Mav loves cats. It'd be so much simpler just to kick me out, Mav. So much less effort.
No, it's tainted. Everybody knows. I have to start over.
It's like there's a spider in the house and you can't find it, so you just need to burn the whole house down.
I have to flood the earth and repopulate. It's too late.
Leaving this in for the YouTube channel. Oh, that's right. I kind of forgot.
I literally just told Coco all about it.
Oh, well, I mean,
Anyways, I think everybody's done commenting. Stop clogging up the airwaves with Math Loves Cats.
this is quality content. This is what's going to get the views. This is what's going to bring the views, man. That crazy Serena Faye.
She's a troublemaker. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, this is the longest I think I've ever lasted in a community without them me out, so I'm doing good.
Get the cat on screen, real views.
Looks like a couple people are dropping off.
Get the cat on the screen for real views. Listen, the internet was made for cats. I don't know how long you guys have been on the internet, but that's what they taught me when I first started being on the internet. The internet was made for cats. I vote for Noah. Yes, again, thank you, Write More and Morio. Awesome presentations.
Phoenix said you both did great. Nio subscribe to the YouTube channel. I should probably do that too.
Oh, yeah.
HK says yes, thank you. Rad Geek says great job, you two. CJ demands better dad jokes from Matt's presentation. Nayo says, thank you for the workshops. I joined yesterday and I find them interesting and helpful.
You're never going to be allowed to be a CM again.
Let me see what.
And
What did I do? What did I break?
well, at least they're going to do it on a day that I'm not home.
I have to go down to the basement.
They'll be like, you just have to go away from Serena. Your wife is not allowed.
Or you could just do it from now on.
No, I don't want to. I just ate my mouth shut next time. That'd be worse. What is that sound in the background, Oliver? I taped Serena's mouth shut.